So this is coming to boil right now. I want it to come to full boil and then lower the heat, put the lid on and let it simmer. And when that's done, I will pull it off heat and then let it sit for another 10 minutes and then open up the lid and fluff it up. And that's what makes it nice and fluffy, and it works really good in salads. Quinoa, by the way, can be used in soups wonderfully. It's sort of it's sort of like the what is it called, pastini? You know, the little baby pasta. It resembles that, and for people with gluten allergies, I think it works really well. Then I also have some organic kidney beans that are, as I said before, super protein and wonderful color. As our quinoa is simmering, I will saute some onions, which is a thing that I do, and some carrots and some celery, and then I'll use some oregano and some cumin, some black pepper, and smoked paprika, which also will add some beautiful color and that smoky flavor. Once all that is put together and cooled, I will make a lemon juice and olive oil dressing. So it's been about 15 minutes, and you can see the little holes. That's the sign that it's done. And now I'll turn the heat off and let it sit for another 10 minutes, just for the whatever moisture remained, it will get absorbed. Then I'll fluff it up and then cool it off, and it will be ready for a salad. So our quinoa had relaxed for about 10 minutes, and it is really an important detail when you let the moisture to soak in without cooking it anymore. It keeps cooking in a way because of the internal heat. But then also another important detail is to fluff it up. And then they're just going to let it cool. Yeah. So this is the best way to mince an onion, is to slice it this way and then go across this way, but not all the way, so it stays together. And then just a quick tip about onions. I can talk about onions all day, probably for a week or a month even. But I never cry when I chop onions. And the reason for that is simple. One, you need to have your knife sharp, so when it comes through the onion, it doesn't sprinkle back at you. And also, if you can do it fast, if you get enough technique to do it fast, then you'll not cry. So that's just, yeah. So to saute things, you want to get your pan hot and add whichever oil or butter you're using. And this way it starts caramelizing right away. And while they're sauteing, I will cut up some carrots. So I get my onions going, and they started getting brown. It's perfect time to add the carrots right now. A tiny bit of salt helps to release the juices, and the moisture prevents things from browning up too fast as the juices release. So our onions and carrots are just about ready, and as opposed to making a soup, I'm making a salad, so I want to keep the veggies a little crunchy, yet the sauteing process makes them more flavorful. So these guys are ready, and I'm gonna add my scallions and celery. And keep them crunchy as well. Don't give them too much time. And here's our quinoa, perfectly cooked. Now there's another thing about using spices. I'll use some smoked paprika, just maybe a half a teaspoon, some cumin, some pepper, and a little bit of oregano. And the reason I do it in the pan while it's still hot is because the oil will, I guess I should say, it will wake up the flavors, because the spices are dry. Once you put them in a hot oil, I mean, just smell it, you know what I mean, just immediately, as opposed to just dropping them in there. This actually releases whatever oils remain within those herbs and spices by just heating it up a little bit. Make sure not to burn it. And the red beans. And all I need right now is a little bit of lemon juice and olive oil, and the salad is ready. This is the power of green. It's just flat leaf parsley, beautiful, flavorful, fresh, and I don't know what happens, but as soon as you add it on, it makes things prettier.